This is Last Year I Was a Junkie, and I'm Evan Beckstedt. So this I guess is the second episode I'm going to be doing. Hopefully I can do some more in the future. As much as I can, I do have work, which is actually surprisingly amazing, considering where I've come from. But the fact that I do enjoy where I'm at right now, there are some flaws. But I do particularly enjoy where I'm at now, at least in comparison to where I used to be. So what I want to talk about in this episode is how we perceive drug addiction as a society, or just how we deal with it. And one of the things I want to bring to the attention of people is that drug addiction is not simply just you crave a drug because you are chemically dependent on it. In fact, it's a whole mess of things. I also want to kind of bring to everybody's attention, maybe I'll delve into the war on drugs. If not, that's okay. But right now I want to explain how I used to be. So I had never dealt with a lot of traumas I had as a child and as an adult, and that kind of led me into a painful existence, and that painful existence made me want to use. Now I know that sounds like not everybody's this way, but if you are in a dark place, you're gonna want to try and get out of that dark place. And in some ways, I would say using drugs saved my life. Using heroin saved my life. And the reason I say that is because without it, I probably would have killed myself. I wasn't able to really handle what was going on up here until I got some therapy and proper counseling. But for a long time, I refused that, and that's one part of the problem that is kind of hard to overcome. But here's one thing I want to say is that for a long time, we have believed that the only reason for addiction, or at least the main cause of addiction, is the dependency, the chemical dependency. Well, that was because we did a study. I should have looked this up, who it was, but someone did a study where he had water with cocaine or heroin in it, and he would have plain water and have a rat drink from either one, and 100% of the time the rat would keep going back to the one with drugs in it. So the rat would continue to do that until it basically killed itself on drugs. So that was the conclusive evidence that we found, and said, hey, this is why drug addiction occurs, is because of these chemical dependencies, and we can see that with rats. Well, one thing amazing that has happened that I'm sure a lot of you know or have heard of is a thing called Rat Park. And Rat Park was done in 1978 to 81, and it was by, yes, I have notes, I know. It was by a man named Bruce Alexander at Simon Fraser University in British Columbia. And what he did was realize that, okay, well, all of these rats that were tested on alone. They were by themselves in a basically prison place, a place that wasn't at all helpful for that rat. It basically made the rat feel like it was in prison. So what he did was make a place called Rat Park, where all the rats could have friends and a community and cheese balls or whatever a rat needs, they get it, and it's in Rat Park. And what ended up happening was he did the same exact test, where he would put drugs in one water supply and just regular water in the other supply. And it turns out that when rats have a sense of community and rats have all that they need, then they will never go towards the drugs. So what does this mean? This means that, or at least implies that, drug addiction is formed by being in a place that you don't desire. So For example, with me, I had a traumatic past, and that traumatic past made me uncomfortable with my own thoughts. And anywhere I was, even if I was with a loving family, I felt trapped, and I felt like I needed to escape. And there, I mean, nobody's life is perfect, I don't think. And my life at home was always pretty tough to be around. So I always wanted to escape. And this is kind of a realization I've been having all day, where I've always wondered why the hell after I would go to a friend's funeral who just died from overdosing, I go to that funeral and come back and get high. So before, I always wondered why would I be like that, but this makes so much sense because I was then put into more pain. And I mean, I know that seems obvious, but just the fact that you can realize addiction comes from turmoil. It doesn't come from the chemical dependency on it. I mean, it does partially, but the majority of the time it comes from where you're at in life and what your life is like. Because otherwise, if you think about it, people go to the doctor all the time, go to hospitals all the time for pain. Or let's say somebody gets in a horrible accident and they break a leg, they get prescribed opioids. And then most of the time they can easily get off of those opioids. So if it had to do with chemical dependency, we would have a much larger problem on our hands. And don't get me wrong, there is a huge problem that we have. But if it was just chemical dependency, then that means everybody that we know, almost everybody we know, or a large majority, maybe not majority, but a large percentage of people would be currently addicted to opioids. So if that's not the case, and the fact of Rat Park, what they determined with Rat Park, if that is the truth, then we need to start approaching drug abuse in a completely different manner. So imagine that you come from a terrible childhood. Let's say your mom is a drug addict and your father is in jail, and all you know is turmoil. So you're constantly uncomfortable, and then once you start experimenting with altered states of consciousness, like using heroin, that becomes kind of your way out. So you grow up in this place, and you learn to use drugs to get over everything. So once you get into that habit, that is your way of escaping these problems instead of finding a proper place to go. Now imagine you get arrested in this situation. Now you have a criminal record, which makes life even harder. So when you have a criminal record just for using drugs or being caught with drugs, then you get labeled as something, and it's tougher to find a job, it's tougher to get better. So everything that our society does currently to drug addicts is actually make it worse. Now don't get me wrong, there are amazing places that will help, kind of like with where I go. It's called Gateways. If anybody in Cincinnati needs help, I highly recommend looking into Gateways. They are, I believe they're through Talbot House, or they're connected to Talbot House in some way, but I highly suggest going to Gateways. If you personally know me, I can help direct you towards them. They have helped me get on my feet. But more importantly, what's helped me get on my feet the most is my community, who I'm around. So if I'm constantly in this state of chaos, I'm probably never going to get out of it. I'm probably always going to use, and I'll never see a way out. So since I had that small portion of stability in my life, I was able to grab onto that and see a brighter future. But here's the problem, is that not everybody has that. So I believe it's in Switzerland, they actually legalized heroin. And what they do is, since it's legal, now people can get a pure dosage of heroin, and they'll be monitored. because in order to get to the heroin, you have to go to a clinic, and at that clinic, they'll only allow you to have a certain amount that will not kill you, and there's always nurses or doctors around to help you with get through it. So that gets rid of a lot of the crime. So all these people that used to be selling drugs, now there's no market for that. And the reason that there was violent crime along with that is because since it is illegal, you don't want to go, let's say, somebody does you wrong when you're selling drugs, instead of going to the police or to any sort of authorities for that, you use violence. And that's how you keep kind of your dominance in this world. It's not through the marketplace. It's not through being a good person or being a good company, and selling things like for example, you don't see alcohol companies fighting each other and creating any violence. So when you get rid of that, there is going to be just no doubt no more violence caused by drug dealers, because those drug dealers will now be gone. So then all of the drug addicts will be getting their drugs for free, but in a clinic, and that clinic can help point them in the right direction to get their lives on track. And yeah, I believe this is in Switzerland where this is happening, and it actually dramatically decreased the amount of drug use, and it completely eliminated crime due to heroin. And when systems like this are in place, it helps get people back on the right track, as opposed to sending them down a dark path. So I'm sure you guys can all imagine what happens to drug addicts in America. There is a place where, not a place, there, anywhere you go, you're shamed for being a drug addict as opposed to being helped. And what creates the problem is that turmoil. And if you're constantly being pushed down by society, you're never going to want to stand back up. You're never going to want to get out of this problem. And trust me, I know this. As soon as I went to jail, that was the worst thing that could have happened to me. I got arrested because they found a fucking needle in my car. Oh, big whoop, a fucking needle. God damn it. I'm going around and just stabbing people with needles, so you got to send me to jail. No, I was harming myself. So instead of giving me help, you put me in jail. You put a permanent record on me saying that this guy is a drug addict, and I'm never going to get rid of that. That's always going to be a stain on me. And I guarantee you I'm not a terrible person. Well, actually, I guess that's kind of cocky to say, but I know I'm not. I know I'm not. But there's a stain on my record because society's deemed me a piece of shit. What do you think being a piece of shit does to you? It turns you into more of a piece of shit. You can't rub trash into a pile of turds and say, there, we fixed it. No, that's not how it works, guys. What you got to do is clean up the trash. Not just shove it in dirt and say, you're gross. Get out of here, you fucking turd. That's not what you do. You gotta fucking fix the problem. And I'm sorry for cussing, but it gets deep into me. Because I have this permanent scar on me from this. But now think about people without my mentality, or without the capability of moving forward. They're going to keep going back and forth, in and out of jail, because they go to jail, which creates more turmoil. Oh shit, I can't get a job because I have a fucking record on me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go steal so that I can get more drugs. Why do I need drugs? Because my life sucks. I got all these records on me. I've been caught for stealing. I got caught with a needle. I bailed out on court because I can't handle going to court, so now there's a warrant out for me. So I'm just going to go around and do drugs until the cops find me and send me off to jail. And once I get out of jail, what do you think's going to happen? Do you think I'm going to be better? No, I'm going to be worse. It's so stupid. And I'm sorry for getting mad, but if you're so stupid to think that sending a drug addict to jail is the right thing to do, you're fucked. You are so fucked. And I'm sorry for cussing, but it pisses me off. Just use your fucking head, people. So, I'm sorry. It's just, it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts thinking of all these people whose lives are ruined because of the war on drugs. And that's what I'm talking about here. The war on drugs literally murders people. I mean, it's called the war on drugs. You're creating a war from nothing. Drugs aren't doing anything to you guys. That's not the problem. The drugs aren't the problem. The drugs are people screaming out for help. You idiots, you morons, fucked up the system. And if you look into where the war on drugs came from, you'll find a disgusting man. A disgusting man I don't even want to name because he's that disgusting. He was a terrible, disgusting racist who hated drug addicts. So, we need to stop. We need to stop putting people down and hurting them just because they're a drug addict. The fact that they're in pain is the reason they're a drug addict. And you can take it from me. I know. Every time I get hurt, the first thing I want to do is use drugs. But luckily, I have a beautiful job and a beautiful wife. I have a child on the way, and I know that I've said that. But that's what keeps me going. Instead of turning to heroin when I have troubles, I turn to my wife. I turn in my head. If I'm not around my wife, I think, well, my wife is at home and I can go see her later. Or I think, I have this great job. I don't want to ruin this job. When you have things going for you, when you're doing good in life, you don't want to use drugs. The only reason you want to use drugs is because your life sucks. Think about it, people. Have you ever met somebody who's on heroin and goes, yeah, my life's perfect. I got a great job. I got a wife, got a family and kids. I love it. I love my life. I guarantee you, you'll never find a heroin addict that does that. Guarantee you. So, what are we doing when we put people in jail for using drugs? What do you think we're doing? I know what we're doing. It's obvious what we're doing. And I think you know it's obvious too. I think you got to be a fucking moron to not realize that you're beating somebody. If somebody's a drug addict and you throw them away and put this scar on their back saying, oh yeah, this person's a piece of shit, that person is going to always be carrying that around with them. And if they have nobody to fall to, like I did, they're going to be fucked forever. So what if instead, oh man, this is a crazy thought. What if instead of sending them to jail, you send them to get help? What if instead of wasting money on the court system, you say, oh, I found a needle in this guy's car, so let's go send him in the right direction. Let's show him that he has skills that he can use. Guess what, guys? I do. I'm a welder. I have skills that I can use. Guess what? I'm doing that. I weld armor to cars now. It's a fucking awesome job. And because of that, I'm happier. I'm not going to say I'm always happy. That's not possible. But I'm happier, for sure. And I love it. I love what I'm doing now. And to think that if instead of sending me to jail, I might have been sent to get clean quicker. Might have. I might not have had that shitty experience where a police officer shoved his finger up me. I know that sounds disgusting, but that's what happened. And it sucked. Why did the police officer do that? Because I'm a drug addict, right? So that means I'm sneaking drugs into the fucking JC. No. I'm not sneaking drugs. Nobody sneaks drugs into there. I mean, I'm sure some people do, but the thing is, you don't need to check someone's ass. It's going to come out eventually. In fact, you don't even need to send them to jail. That's the most obvious thing. And what drives me nuts is that we have to go through all this bureaucratic bullshit. Even though the majority of the population knows that there's something wrong with the war on drugs, we still do it. We can't do anything about it. It's bullshit. And I'm sorry for getting angry, but we've got to stop this. We have to. Do you know how hard it was for me to get up off my ass and just go find a skill so that I could use it for the rest of my life to make me money? It was difficult because I kept getting kicked down. That's all everybody did to me, besides my family and besides my wife. She wasn't my wife at that time, but she was always there for me, even before I was dating her. Luckily for her, she didn't start dating me until after this problem was basically resolved. But she was there for me that whole time. She helped me get clean. And that's what we need, is somebody to help us get clean. We need someone to say, hey, look over there. That's reality. You can have a good life. You don't have to do drugs. Look, I know. How about we find you someone to talk to get off whatever happened to you? We can talk that through. We can get you some, maybe some antidepressants, whatever you need. We can help you do that. We can get you a job. We can find you skills. We can send you to a trade school. You like to work on cars? Go work on cars. Go get a good job. Go find a family. That's what we need. We need support. We need love and support. We don't need all this anger and hate. And I know that sounds like a hippie talking, but I'm being serious about this, guys. We are punishing people who are punishing themselves. I'm telling you, do you really think that a drug addict is not already punishing themselves? They're screaming out for help. Screaming out for help. I was dying in front of my family's eyes, and they didn't know what the fuck to do. Because we don't have the proper skills as a society to help a drug addict. And we need to develop that. Or else we're all just going to keep dying. And drug abuse is going to continue. Not just that, we're destroying Mexico with this. We're destroying a lot of countries, actually, by making all of this illegal. And I'm not saying, oh yeah, let's make drugs legal so I can do them. No, I'm saying if drugs were legal, it would get rid of the cartel. It would get rid of a lot of drug crime. The majority of it. It would probably help solve a lot of Mexico's problems. If they don't have a demand for these drugs, they're not going to be able to do anything about it. Maybe we could establish a good government down there by getting rid of these drugs. And by getting rid of these drugs, I mean by legalizing them and putting them through the proper channels to fix everything. As opposed to just fucking pissing all over it. Oh, here's drugs. Let's just, I don't know, let's just stab everyone who does them. It doesn't make any sense. You might as well be doing that. None of it makes sense. I get how racist fuckers in the past could do this, and I'm sorry, I hate using that word, racist, and I mean, I'm not that fond of fuckers, but I'm fine with that. Well, I'm fine with fucking, of course, I like that. But no, anyway, that's not the point. The point is that it started through racism. And I know we hear this a lot, but if you actually dive into the reasons why this happened, it's just because some racist psychopath, literally racist psychopath, wanted to keep his bureau going on. It was basically right after Prohibition ended. There was this portion of the government that was involved in taking down illegal alcohol distributions. And since that was gone, since that crime, I mean, this is the crazy. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent again, but this is the crazy thing that drives me nuts. We made alcohol illegal. Boom, crime. We established a bureau of the government to take it down. Guess what? We get rid of Prohibition. Then what? All that crime ceases to exist. Then guess what happens after that, guys? Can you guess? Oh no, all these people are like, oh, our job is pointless now because we have no drug to go after. We have no illegal substance to go after. So what do? They start saying, actually, here's how we keep our jobs. Here's how we keep our bureau of the government running. Let's say marijuana's bad. So they just start making shit up about pot. I mean, this is common knowledge. We know this. So why are we still doing it? I mean, we got Suboxone. That's legal. Guess what? That's a fucking shitty drug. It's still a goddamn drug. It gets people high. If you're not taking it to get off of heroin, you can get high on it. Methadone, you can get high on that. And we use that to help people get off. So what if we just instead, let me think, let's make these drugs legal. Let's make heroin legal. Then they won't be getting fentanyl. We'll know that for a fact. You know why we'll know that? Because we'll set up fucking clinics where you can go use heroin. And while you're there, here's a pamphlet. We can help you. Guess what? Now there's not people dropping. Now all the friends that I had who died wouldn't be dying. Why? Because they just go to these fucking clinics. Guess what? All of my friends knew that they had a fucking problem. All of them knew. So if they went to a fucking clinic, instead of going to the guy that doesn't give a shit about them down the street, they might have gotten some help, pushed in the right direction, instead of being pushed into a coffin. I hope you guys get this. I hope you get it. Because it's been... Sorry. I've gone down a rabbit hole today. And I haven't stopped thinking about it. Because I see this solution in my head. And I know other people out there see it too. But it's like I can't do anything about it. There's just so many people that are stuck on the idea that drugs are shitty. Which, yes, they are. But that doesn't mean that you make them illegal and create a fucking drug war. You're literally shooting at ghosts. You're fighting nothing, guys. People that are on drugs are screaming, help! That's what they're doing. That's what I was doing. That's what I still do sometimes. But I have help now. And I found it. But I found it through one of the hardest routes possible. That's what we need. We need to have help. Not a war. Not a fight. We need help. We're just people. We're people that are crammed. We're crammed into this little box that we can't fit in and forced and told, hey, this is what you have to do and do it now. But some people don't fit in there. And they don't like that. It makes them feel uncomfortable. So some people start using drugs. And that's what I did. I'm a musician. I haven't fucking played music in a long time because of this. My drug addiction led me to lose one of the favorite things I ever had, which was writing music. Now you probably think, how did I lose that? You can't really lose writing music just because you did drugs. Maybe later down the road I can do it, but currently playing music messes with me and makes me want to get high. So I don't do it. But these are things that we should all consider. We should all consider maybe being a little kinder. Maybe stop arresting people because they're a drug addict. Maybe send them to a clinic to get them clean. Maybe we can start making policies so that it's not illegal to do these things. We need to save America from the opioid addiction. We need to save everyone. We need to move forward. And we're moving backwards. We see what happens to people. We see the effects of what we do. And yet we keep doing it. People use drugs because of pain. Then you punish them, which creates more pain. So what are they going to do? Are they going to stop doing drugs because they got more pain added onto them? Or do you think they're going to want to use more drugs? I think it's the latter. And I think we all know that. Well, anyway, I guess I'll stop ranting now. And hopefully you guys can share this video with people and maybe start looking into things more about this. Maybe we can start helping each other learn more about the drug addiction problem. I don't know. But I do want to say that I deeply love all of you out there that are currently struggling with drug addiction. Because I was there for a long time. And I love you guys, and I want you guys to find what I found. And I hope you don't get put in jail, because that's the worst thing that happened to you. It's just creating a bigger problem. But hopefully you can get through it. Find help like I did. Anyway, this is last year I was a junkie. Tomorrow I'm going to take a step forward, and I hope to see you there.